On. Good Lord, these are long pieces. And 2 in 1 day. On Sunday, July the 9th, 2023, the first of 2 poems I posted is called, long title, Imaginary Ghost at an Imaginary Dinner at a Real Pizzeria and Other Ghosts Here in the City in Which I Live. It starts with an epigraph, just to make it even longer. The dead are notoriously hard to satisfy. That's Jack Spicer, writing as Federico Garcia Lorca. Try explaining that to the ghost in the corner here at Uncle Vito's. Sure, I could regale you with tales from this pizza joint, as I experienced it my first few months in Frisco. It is a pizza joint that sits here at what is essentially the intersection of Union Square and Nob Hill, the Tenderloin, in Chinatown. But that wouldn't explain the ghost's presence. As far as I know, Dad only spent that 1 day in San Francisco on a family vacation in 1980, which was my first experience here as well. Not here at Uncle Vito's, though. This place I would experience without my dad starting some 4 decades later. So why, I wonder, is Dad here and not here? I hope it's not to gloat in that demeaning way he would, knowing how it always got to me. Although even that would be fine in the end, given that I miss him. He died too young, at 59, less than a year after I moved here. I moved to San Francisco in the summer of 2000, and Dad died in early 2001. I'd already rushed once to Arkansas for what would be my last time to see him, but it wasn't, as the doctors had warned, during his final days. He was on a ventilator at the time, and I only saw him through a window. The experience was a bit creepy, leaving me empty, but fortunately he somehow recovered, was taken off the ventilator after I left the following morning, and went on to have a few cherished further conversations over the phone before the lymphoma did finally destroy him, the big manly man that I never was. He was a cop, a veteran of war, a house painter, a fireman, a fence builder, a cattleman, and biggest manly man duty of all, he was the father of 4 raucous kids born less than 3 years apart. Figure that out. That scene, the ghost of my father, and a whole lifetime of ghosts are all drifting in and out of my imagination. And my varying states of nearly awake and almost asleep. And while I don't often visit the apparitions of things that were once but no longer alive, like I still seem to be here, in my rather creative contemplation, it would certainly seem to make sense why I'm finding myself surrounded by ghosts this weekend. They are the subject of the current section in the book of poetry, which I've been reading the last few days. At present, I'm down the hill and in the hood, several blocks away from the lovely and spacious pad in which I resided on Nob Hill, my home for 13 years, which was just a couple of short blocks away from Uncle Vito's. Tonight, a minute from 2 in the morning on a cool July evening, my world is understandably inhabited by many ghosts, and it makes sense to see my father, in particular, at the pizza joint that has been at the corner of Bush and Mason for as long as I've lived there. Which, given the evolving situation, the pandemic, and the city's evolving landscape, has forced upon its many fine eateries, Vito's is one of the only dining joints in the city that is still extant. These now dead places in which I've dined off and on for my time on the West Coast make up a large portion of the ghosts of San Francisco, of the ghosts that inhabit my life, places lost, people lost, friends have just vanished, many of whom I'd rather never run into again, all things considered. Certainly not the ones who would turn out to still be living and breathing, that is. But is that true? I wonder. It is sure nice to see Dad. I'm glad he's found a place to hang out here in town, in this parcel in which I've now lived longer than I did in the state in which I grew up. Attended undergraduate college and spent the first couple of years of what would become my paid career before heading to the Midwest for graduate school, then to Boston, then finally here, to what would soon be my home with a capital H. After I left home for college at 17, and while I still lived in Arkansas, Dad would show up unexpectedly, all uniformed as a state trooper or in military garb, just to, I suppose, check in on me to see how I was doing. At the time, I would think this was just something he would do mainly to catch me off guard, to rattle my senses, to irritate me. That was how it was between me and my father. But maybe it was because he liked surprises. I do not. But he definitely cared deeply about his kids, even me. And truth be told, I always got a kick out of those random visits, so wouldn't it be nice to see him in the corner of Uncle Vito's right now? As I sat, of course, at a window seat, downing my pizza and guzzling a soda, which would be diet now. Yeah, it sure would. So what can I say to these thoughts? Thanks for dropping by, Dad. See you around again soon. Yeah? And here's to hoping.